Very good morning, students, and once again, welcome to the digital classroom of science lecture. Students, we had finished till lesson number 7. We had also finished with the workbook exercise, and today we are going to start with lesson number 8. So let's start with lesson number 8, pollution. Pollution is the contamination of natural environment harmful to ecosystems. Now, if you remember in your lower classes, we had studied about ecosystems, right? There are different ecosystems: land ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, aerial ecosystems, right? And in these ecosystems, the living and non-living organisms, they are interdependent, right? The living organisms cannot survive without non-living factors, whereas even the non-living factors cannot continue without the help of living organisms. So the interaction between the living and non-living organisms is present in the ecosystem, in the environment, right? So when this balance between the living and the non-living is disturbed, when the natural environment is contaminated, is polluted, then it is called as pollution. So whatever natural environment is present on the earth, if it is contaminated, if it is polluted, then it leads to pollution. And this is very, very harmful for the ecosystems which are found on the earth. Now, what are the different causes of these pollution in the environment? Now, in the first picture, you can see the industries. So, one of the main factor for responsible for pollution is industrialization. Second one is overpopulation. As you know that the population of India is increasing like anything. Population explosion is taking place, and thus to fulfill the basic necessities of each and every human being is becoming quite difficult. So population is again a factor for pollution. Next is mining, right? This is also a factor of pollution. This is also a cause which leads to pollution. Then, as I said, the population is increasing, so the transport modes are also increasing. They are used more, and thus transportation also is a reason for the pollution. And then we spray the pesticides, insecticides, weedicides on the crops. We add chemical fertilizers to the soil to increase the fertility and to increase the yield. So all this lead to the pollution. These are the different causes how the pollution is taking place on the earth. Next is pollutants. The factors which cause the pollution are called as factors, as pollutants. So these factors which affect the natural functioning of ecosystem and causing harmful effects on the environment are called as the pollutants. Now these pollutants, they make the environment poisonous and unhealthy. Now the pollutants can be of two types. One is natural and the other is man-made. Students, the disaster management we had studied the reasons for the disasters, or there are two types of disasters. First one is natural and the second one is man-made, right? Similarly, here also some of the pollutants, they are natural. That means they are not in our hands. We cannot do anything to stop them. And second one is man-made pollutants, which takes place due to the activities which are done by human being. Then we have to study about the different types of pollution. The very first one is air pollution. Now air pollution means the air is contaminated by different types of harmful substances which causes the air pollution. Now, what causes the contamination of air, or what causes the pollution of air? The very first picture you can see the forest fire, right? Because of the fire, the smoke is produced and it contaminates the air. In the second picture, you can see the vehicles. Vehicles, they give out the smoke. You know, at times when we are near the vehicles, standing near the big vehicles, or if we are on a busy traffic road, then at times the smoke which is given out by the vehicles, you know, we feel suffocated, we get itching in our eyes, we get itching sensation in our throat, we start coughing, right? And our eyes start watering. Why? Because the black colored harmful smoke is given out, is emitted by the vehicles, which is harmful for our body, as well as it contaminates, it pollutes the air also. In the third picture, you can see the smoke, the black dark colored smoke, which is given out from the factories and industries. And not only the smoke is given out, but the small carbon particles are also given out by these factories, which are called as particulate matter. And different types of microbes are also there, which contaminate the air, right? So this is all about the air pollution. What causes the air pollution, or what causes the contamination of air? So contamination of air takes place by harmful substances like the fire, smoke, poisonous gases, particulate matter, and microbes, etc. Then reasons of air pollution. Now, as we had seen that pollutants can either be natural or man-made. Similarly, the air pollution can be also divided into two reasons. First is natural reasons, and the second one is man-made reasons, or the reasons which are due to manual activities. Now, natural reasons, first one is volcanic eruption, right? In the disaster management also we had studied that it is a natural disaster, volcanic eruption, then earthquake, cyclones, dust storms, forest fires, and the spores of the bacteria, fungi, or microbes in the air. These are all the natural reasons which lead to air pollution. Now, if you remember, we had studied that when a volcanic eruption takes place, the solid, gaseous, and the liquid materials, they come out in the form of lava through eruption, and it often results in rain also. And what are the harmful gases like hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, ammonium chloride, hydrogen, vapors, dust, etc. This comes out from the volcano and causes the air pollution. Second one is earthquake. You know that when earthquake takes place, the lives are lost, the property is damaged. Then at times the poisonous gases and water vapors from inside of the earth are released into the air, right? Because what is earthquake? Earthquake is the, you can say, the dashing of two or collision of the tectonic plates, right? So that is also a natural reason of air pollution. Cyclones and dust storms. When there is a strong cyclone, we had seen that the soil, the dust, it just flies away with the air, and with this, the garbage, the pollen grains, then the microbes are mixed with the air and they pollute the air. Next is forest fire. Now, when forest fire takes place, it takes place due to high temperature and due to the friction of the leaves or branches of the trees. So, forest fires, they release carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and smoke in the air, and thus the air pollution takes place. Then microbes in the air. There are very small, you know that microbes means, microorganisms means, which we cannot see with our naked eyes. There are spores of bacteria, there are fungi, which are mixed in the air, and all these are the natural reasons for pollution of air. Then let's study about the man-made reasons, how the manual activities are responsible, how we are responsible for the air pollution. First one is fuel. Now, as you know that the population is exploding in our country, because of which the number of vehicles are increasing, and when these vehicles, the fuels which are used in these vehicles, they give out smoke which has very harmful gases. If the fuel is burnt in the form of coal or wood or timber, that also gives the harmful gases. Then LPG, the gas which we use, kerosene, diesel, petrol, all these are the different types of fuel. When they are burnt, they give out carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, lead compounds. All these are given out from the burning of fuel and from the different fuel like kerosene, diesel and petrol. So all these harmful gases are because of fuel and they pollute the air. Then when we burn the garbage, when we burn the solid waste, the agricultural waste, the leftover of the crops, when they are burnt in open spaces, it also leads to air pollution. Industrialization, right? We had seen in the previous picture, the smoke is released in large quantity and it contains the particulate matter in the form of carbon particles, right? Then sulfur powder is also given out, nitrogen oxide, cotton seed powder. These are all released from the industries and factories and they cause the air pollution. Then the atomic energy plants and blast. At times, the blast of the atomic energy plants takes place and it releases the radioactive elements in the air. And you know, children, radioactive elements, radioactive pollutants are the worst pollutants because they do not decompose. They remain in the atmosphere for a very, very long time. And in these atomic energy plants, the use of elements like uranium, thorium, graphite, plutonium, they are used as the raw material and they release the radiations in the air, and this also leads to the pollution of air. So these are the different reasons. Some are natural and some are man-made reasons. So we are equally responsible for the air pollution. There is a table given in the textbook where the different air pollutants are given, their sources are given and their effects are also given. The very first one is sulfur dioxide and it is given out from the factories where coal and mineral oil is used as fuel, right? So what are the adverse effects of the sulfur dioxide? Irritation of eyes, irritation of respiratory tract, excess mucus, cough and breath. Now, whatever air, whatever type of air we are breathing in, it is definitely going to affect our respiratory tract, right? So the nose, the respiratory tract, our lungs, all these are affected by the air pollutants. Second one is carbon monoxide. It is CO. It is given out from the vehicular and industrial smoke, that is from the vehicles and from the industries too. Carbon monoxide is given out. Lowers the oxygen carrying capacity of blood. You know that red blood cells, right, in our blood carries the oxygen from one place to another with the help of an iron compound, that is hemoglobin, right? So to carry the oxygen from one place to another, this is lowered by inhaling the carbon monoxide, which is very harmful for our health. Then oxides of nitrogen, nitrogen dioxide, nitric dioxide, all these are also given out from the vehicles and all these causes the irritation in respiratory tract and damage to the lungs. Then particulate matter, again it is given out from the vehicles and industrial smoke, and this also leads to many types of respiratory diseases. You know, these small particulate matter, when they are inhaled by us, they go and accumulate inside our lungs, and then the breathing becomes difficult. Then dust, again it is given out from the vehicles and the industries, and it causes a disease which is called as silicosis, because dust contains silica oxide, right? It is a compound of silica, and it goes and accumulates inside our lungs and causes silicosis. Pesticides, which is produced, and the use of pesticides, right, to kill the pest in the farms, in the agricultural land, on the crops. These pesticides are sprayed, and these pesticides, they directly pollute the air, and at the same time they enter the food chain also, because it is absorbed by the plants also, and when we consume the plant products, these pollutants, they enter inside our body, they enter in the food chain also, and they lead to mental weakness, death due to prolonged exposure to the pesticides. Last one is methane. Methane is generally given in the atmosphere by the leakage. If any leakage is there in the industry, then it leads to the methane air pollutant, and it is very poisonous. It can cause skin cancer, it can cause asthma, which is a respiratory disease, and many other respiratory diseases also. So these are the different types of air pollutants, from where they are released, and what are the adverse effects of these air pollutants on human body. Then what are the effect of these air pollutants on plants and animals, right? All that we had studied is all about the human beings, but they have adverse effect on plants and animals also. Now in plants, you know, there are very small openings on the leaves which are called as stomata, and through these stomata the plants, they respire, they take in oxygen, and they give out carbon dioxide. At the same time, these stomata, they give out oxygen and they take in carbon dioxide during the process of photosynthesis, right? So when these air pollutants, they are released in the atmosphere, and these small particulate matter or dust particles, when they settle down on the plants, the stomatas, they get closed, and thus the rate of photosynthesis is lowered, right? Due to this, the growth of the plant is retarded. That is, it does not grow very tall. Its height is less. And at times it happens that leaves may fall off or they turn yellow. So these are the all adverse effects on plants and animals. The next is on animals. First thing, like human beings, they also take in oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. So their respiration is also affected. They also get irritation of eyes, right? Like human beings, they also respire. So their respiratory tract is also affected by the air pollutants. Now in the picture you can see the energy emitted by sun is absorbed in the atmosphere, right? Now it is absorbed by the earth's surface also, okay, and the infrared radiation is also given out from the sun. Now one of the adverse effect of air pollution is depletion in ozone layer. Now what is ozone layer? Ozone layer is present below the stratosphere, and it is at a height of 48 kilometers from Earth's surface. Now it is very useful because it protects the living organisms of the earth from the ultraviolet rays, from the UV rays which are given out from the sun, right? But because of the air pollution, this ozone layer is getting depleted. The holes are formed in the ozone layer, and through these holes in the ozone layer, the ultraviolet rays, the harmful ultraviolet rays which are given out from the sun, are being reaching the earth, which is very harmful for the living organisms, whether they are plants, whether they are animals, or whether they are human beings. So one of the deadliest effect of the air pollution is the depletion in the ozone layer. Now, what are the reasons for the depletion of this ozone layer, right? Now, first one is greenhouse effect and global warming. Now, what is greenhouse effect? We had studied. Now, the greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and CFC. So, this carbon dioxide is present in very less quantity in the atmosphere, but it plays a very important role of absorption of the solar heat. The heat which is given out by the sun, it is absorbed by carbon dioxide. Now, the proportion of carbon dioxide is increasing in the Earth's atmosphere due to industrialization and other reasons which we had studied in the previous part of the lesson. Now, because of this carbon dioxide, the Earth's temperature is affecting the greenhouse effect. Then similarly, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and CFC, they also trap the heat. Like carbon dioxide traps the heat from the sun, similarly these gases also, they trap the heat of the sun, and thus these gases are called as greenhouse gases. CFC is chlorofluorocarbon. So because of the depletion in ozone layer, one of the reason is greenhouse effect and global warming. The temperature of the earth is increasing, which is called as. Next is acid rain. Now this also we had studied in the previous lesson. Acid rain takes place when the harmful gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, they are released from the industries and they react with the rainwater or the vapors in the air and they form the acids. Now these acids, they come down in the form of rain. They mix with the raindrops and come down as rain, which is called as acid rain, right? Now what are the effects on the different organisms of this acid rain? First one is it affects on soil and water bodies. Now when this acid rain takes place, the acidity of the soil and the water bodies increases due to acid rain, which harms the aquatic organisms, plants, and the forest also, right? So the whole of the ecosystem, the aquatic ecosystem as well as the terrestrial ecosystem, it gets disturbed because of the acid rain. Second one is erosion of structures. You know, the buildings which have metals or the statues which are made up of metals, the historical monuments, bridges, then metal idols, wire fencing, they all start eroding due to this acid rain, right? Then the third one is ecosystem. Now the ecosystem is also adversely affected due to this rainwater. There are heavy metals like mercury, cadmium, which are absorbed by the plants and thereby enter the food chain indirectly due to the acid rain. Then one more effect is there, which is on health. Now, due to this acid rain, our health is also affected very adversely. Then, before going to preventive measures, one more I want to tell you the effect of acid rain. Now, when this acid rain water, it falls on the water bodies and pipes, the leaching of metal and the plastic materials takes place, and thus by it can cause very serious health issues, because this rainwater with the acid falls on the ground, it falls in the water bodies also, it is absorbed when it falls on the ground, it is absorbed by the soil also. We had studied about leaching of water or absorbing water into the soil, right? So it has a very adverse effect. At times in villages the borewell is there, and with the help of a machine the water from the ground is pulled out for the different purposes. So if the acid rainwater is seeped inside the water, then definitely it is going to cause very adverse effect on the humans as well as on the crops also, and it makes the soil also infertile. Now, what are the preventive measures? How we can prevent the adverse effects of the acid rain? The first thing is we can use the filters or the arresters. Now, when the smoke is given out from the factories, they has many harmful particles. So there are certain instruments or equipments which can be fitted in the chimney from where the smoke comes out. They are called as arresters or filters, and they can arrest the harmful particulate substances going and releasing in the atmosphere. So this is the first preventive method. Second is proper disposal. Now from the industries also, the wastewater is thrown out. It should be done with proper care, because if it is thrown out and if it contains heavy metals like cadmium and all, then it is absorbed in the soil, and again it can lead to soil pollution as well as water pollution. So they should be treated well before disposing of from the industries and factories. Next is restrictions. We should put some restrictions, or we should have some control. Certain laws should be made, because of which the factories or the industry should be fined, or they should be given some punishment if they release the wastewater without the proper treatment. So certain restrictions and bans are required to prevent the air. It is almost time up, so the lesson is not yet completed, but we will continue the lesson in the next science lecture. So till then, take care. Thank you.